Hello and welcome back to the Simplifiers podcast, where we take topics in business and in life and simplify them. Now, friends, if you've been following this 5-part series, you already know exactly who I'm talking to today, one of my favorite nutritionists in the entire universe. Her name is Carly Pollack. And this is part 3 of 5. We're talking about and making it simple to make self-care non-negotiable in your life. So part 1, we talked about cooking. Part 2, we talked about sleep. And now part 3, we are going to talk about meditation and silence. Carly Pollack is the author of the book, Feed Your Soul, and she's also the founder of Nutritional Wisdom, a thriving private practice based in Austin, Texas. She's a certified clinical nutritionist with a master's degree in holistic nutrition. She's also been awarded Best Nutritionist in Austin, for 5 years running, and has helped over 10,000 people achieve their health and happiness goals. So, I'd like to welcome back to the Simplifiers podcast, Carly Pollack. Hey, Carly.
I'm so excited we're doing this. I feel like if everyone's listened to the first 2 parts, they're fed, they're well rested. Now we get to talk about true deep self-care. We're getting into the nitty-gritty, the stuff that people really have a lot of resistance to, which is that meditation, that silent time, that time to unplug. I feel like it's the hardest of all 5 pillars.
It truly is. And you know what? I think it's true because we are go, go, go in our everyday life. No matter if you've got kids or you don't, if you own a business or you hope to run one and start one day, the pace of life right now is just manic. I mean, I can imagine people that have downloaded this episode and started to listen already going with how do I get silence and stillness and meditation into my crazy jam-packed life? Like, where's the time going to come from for that? What do you say to them?
I say that you really have to make realistic expectations. I always think of this quote when I'm having trouble getting myself to sit and meditate. Gandhi is quoted to say, "I have so much to accomplish today that I must meditate for 2 hours instead of 1."
Yeah.
It's like his idea that he had so much to do in order to be grounded, to show up fully and do that to the best of his ability, that he actually needed to spend more time in meditation, where all of us would go, "Are you kidding? That's the first thing that gets knocked off my list when I have more to do." I'm so sick of listening to all of this advice about these deep meditation practices when I feel like I cannot even sit for 20 minutes. So today's conversation is going to be extremely realistic. Truly, it's the advice for someone who feels like 20 minutes is overwhelming. We're going to give you the tools so that you have a consistent meditation practice that you redefine. So instead of it's only perfect if it's for a certain amount of time, the redefinition is that consistency is the number one thing that we're looking for.
Right. So scrap the idea of perfectionism because it doesn't have any place in here. So all we're looking for, and the measure of success, measure of happiness, I don't know about that, but measure of success is consistency. Even a little bit every single day is going to get you closer and closer to get back to thriving, right?
And the follow-up measure to success is that when you lack consistency, how quickly you get back on.
Yeah.
I call it recovery rate. I first learned this when I was in a class learning about that the health of, I was learning about relationships, and that the health of relationships is not how little a couple argues or disagrees. It's how quickly they return back to a place of love when they've fallen out of harmony with each other. And when I started to think about, wow, your mark of success is not how much you argue, but how quickly you return to a place of love, I realized it's the same with food.
Yeah.
That your mark of success is how quickly you can refresh instead of pressing that switch, that black and white switch going, oh, I failed. I might as well eat crappy all weekend long and start on Monday or start on the 1st or whatever it is. And also with the consistency in our habits, that it's not, can we do it perfectly? That should be the mark of success, but is the consistency, which is really the antithesis of perfection when you think about it. And also that if I have a week where I have forgotten what's really important and I've gone a week without any sort of self-care, let alone meditation, that the quicker I get back on is actually a mark of success than have I done 20 minutes, twice a day, which is the traditional transcendental meditation prescription. And it's the most popular meditation in the world, is called TM meditation.
Yeah.
And the prescription is twice a day for 20 minutes. And I remember when I first learned, because that's how I traditionally learn meditation, I would feel guilty that I wouldn't get that second 20 minutes in. And I had this thought one day, how I would have normally given myself such a high five for just 120 minutes. And here I was going, oh, I didn't get that afternoon meditation. And that old perfectionist Carly was coming up. It's like, I'm not going to get a gold star from who I do not know.
Right.
I wanted to call my meditation teacher and go, I did it twice a day for 20 minutes. Somebody give me a gold star. I need a sticker to feel enough, Yeah. And really realizing that it's about consistency, and even more so that when you are inconsistent, that you get right back on and you leave perfectionism at the door.
And I mean, that certainly resonates with me, how fast you bounce back when things go a bit far to the left, right? And again, that translates to all aspects of your personal life, your relationships, your food, your exercise, your work, your revenue, all the things, right? It's how you bounce back. All right, so you've just mentioned one type of meditation, TM meditation. So let's break this down for people and simplify. Let's say if people have never meditated in their entire life and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know about all of this. Let's give them the 101 first. What's the difference in your mind between meditation and simply sitting in silence?
Okay, so I would say that meditation is a type of silence.
Okay.
But not all silence has to include meditation. So when I say, and I was very specific when I wrote the book as to why not put this together as one pillar of self-care, silence and meditation. Why did I separate it so intentionally that they were two different things? Yeah. And I realized that meditation is, and we can talk about the different types and how to get started, is the intentional act of sitting, eyes closed, going within, changing the brain waves. It's a type of silence, but that there were all these other things that I know that humans need in order to feel grounded, in order to make great decisions about food consistently, in order to come from a place of love and compassion and kindness, not only to others, but something we don't really talk about, more importantly, to ourselves. Yeah. When we look in the mirror and when we get dressed, and how that bleeds into all of our decisions and our relationships. And a type of silence, for example, that may not be meditation is unplugging from social media. And having a day, and this is something that I challenge everyone listening or watching to try, is having a half a day. Maybe it's an hour is all you can do. Maybe it's a full day or a weekend, depending on your lifestyle, where you unplug from your phone. Mm-hmm. You shut off all social media. You shut off the mail icon. In fact, lose your phone. I don't want to know where your phone is. And if we've ever had that moment on vacation where we go, I don't even know where my phone, I've gone all day. I don't know who's texting me. It's quite freeing. And we always have the phone right next to us. So to unplug from the phone, to be in silence, meaning nothing coming outward, no energy going out. So no talking to other people, no answering the phone, no writing emails, and you just keep it all within. I always want to include nature in silence because it only magnifies the experience. And so an example of this, and something I used to do quite often, was to shut off my phone for a half a day, start the morning with a hike that I didn't invite a friend on. It's funny. We start to attempt to do these things, and then we're so scared to be alone with our thoughts. We go, well, let me call a girlfriend. And then before you know it, you're walking in nature, BSing with your friend, and maybe even talking about things that bring you guys down, right, or talking about the latest Kim Kardashian, whatever, and you leave that walk and you go, oh, I don't feel refreshed.
Yeah, I feel exhausted.
I don't feel grounded. I feel like I just crossed something off on my to-do list because I made it social. So I crossed off being social, but it wasn't self-care. Right. And so I would go by myself. I would walk without a podcast, without anything, just be. And even if it were I was running errands, to be in silence is to be in silence. And so it was just, and you can see that's very different from sitting in meditation, but it refuels us in a way that you simply cannot grasp when you're out in the world and being energetically involved.
It's so interesting that you should mention this because I just literally had this conversation with another gal 2 weeks ago on the podcast. Her name is Celeste Headley, and her book was all about how to have conversations that matter. And by the way, if you guys haven't heard that one yet, click in the link in the show notes because you definitely want to listen to that. So she's a communications specialist. And she, too, talk about like a gal. She's an anchor on NPR. She does all these things. She talks to hundreds and hundreds of people every single week. And she also said, Carly, I have to schedule once a week untouchable days where she shuts it all down. She doesn't check social media. She doesn't have her email or her phone on. So, this is true. And other people are saying these things now. And I think that this is a true testament to how crazy fast our lives are going right now and how crazy we are dependent on that little device in the back pocket of our jeans, because it's like everything revolves around the phone. And when you start to remove yourself from that, it's scary at first, but it's also very freeing, I think, as well. And your brain needs a break, right?
And I'm not anti-social media. I'm on social media. But what was really interesting to me is that I started the timer that you can now put on Instagram, for example, to show you, it gives you that alarm, hey, you've been on. So I put the timer on 20 minutes, which is the length of a traditional meditation that I would practice.
Yeah.
And I would have these days go by where it's like every day I hit that 20-minute mark on Instagram, but I didn't do my meditation. Yeah. And then my inner mental narrative was, I simply don't have time. It's like, well, that's a lie, because I was on Instagram for 20 minutes doing something that when I'm 90 years old, I call this the rocking chair test. When you're stressed about something, think about you're 90 years old sitting in a rocking chair around all of your family and children and grandchildren. If that's the scenario, that's what I picture for myself. And I say, well, I care about this. And usually the answer is no. And so there's no reason for me to be stressed about it now. But even in this example, all the stuff I do on social media, I won't care about. It will have changed. But will I care when I'm 90 in a rocking chair that I had a consistent meditation practice for 50 plus years? Yes, because that will make me a different person. That will completely change my health. We're not going to go over it today, but if you Google the 10 physiological benefits of meditation, your mind will be blown with how it actually changes the brain, it changes the body, that it's truly like taking a multivitamin, more so. And so I always think about that when I'm on social media. I don't want to poo-poo it because it is a part of how we connect. Yeah. Sometimes it does help me feel connected, but what we're really looking for is that the silence helps you ground to the present moment. Yeah. And so when you're on the way to a meeting or an errand or to the office, that you don't just grab your phone, grab all your stuff and walk to your car. That for the 2 seconds that you leave your house and walk to the car, you smell the air and you listen for the birds and you look at the gentle wind in between the trees. Yeah. And that you say, thank you. Thank you, universe. Thank you, God. Thank you to whatever your higher power is, that I am alive, that my heart is beating, that my lungs are breathing air, that all is well. And it's those grounding moments that help us choose the salad for lunch, that keep us from eating an entire bag of popcorn for dinner because we didn't prioritize our cooking self-care. And silence is the only way to reset that grounding that I speak of. And it's the only word that I can continue to I'm a very visual person. And so when I visualize us being grounded, it's like being plugged in to source energy, to what is real, to what is important, to gratitude, because we're all so busy, as you said, and doing very important things. But before you know it, it's 9 p.m., you haven't taken care of yourself, you feel completely drained, and the things that you're doing, which the end goal of all goals is to be happy, so the things you're doing that will ultimately bring happiness are leaving you depleted and eventually to be sick. And that would, in effect, block the happiness. So when we're only looking at what's right in front of us, our to-do lists, the meetings, the accomplishments, the next goal, the revenue goals, and we're not grounded to what's real, then the ride isn't even fun anymore. And I have to remind myself that all the time. I may not want to stop and meditate. I may not want to take this hour in silence, but if I don't do it, the ride's not fun. And if the ride's not fun, what is the point?
Yeah. And I think for me as well, I mean, I've been running the Simplifiers for 16 years now. I can't believe that. It goes by so fast. And that sounds so
Oh, I continue to go in and out of it. I think it's a normal human ebb and flow. If you're not in the constant practice of being the watcher of your thoughts, of stepping aside from that, again, mental inner narrative that is incessant, then you forget. You forget what is real, what's really driving us. We all started something because we wanted to serve in some way. We wanted to leave a dharma, or we wanted to leave a mark on that when we left this earth, that there was something that we did in service. And then just like everyone, I get stuck in the sales numbers. I get stuck in the scarcity of it's not enough. And that's when I start eating crap. I always say your plate is a reflection of your inner state.
Yeah.
And that's why there's so much important, not only in the book, but in my day-to-day coaching, that we talk so much not about food, because it's all about food, and it's all never about food at the same time. It's like, I had a client come in today and I said, give me an update. She goes, I don't want to tell you what's going on because then you're going to want to talk about that. And I just really want to talk about the food. And then she told me what's going on. I said, we don't have to talk about it, but I know your food is crap. You don't even have to tell me about your food because you just told me that you're in a state of anxiety and panic all the time. No one then says, oh, I'm super stressed out. Life is really scary. But wait, let me cook and make sure that I pick the gluten-free option. Like, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
There's no way to escape it. You can't over-exercise yourself into health. And that's something that people do. So many of us have struggled with not exercising enough. But I have to say, type A, OCD achievers, a lot of the times we exercise too much and we use it as this outlet. Oh, I'm taking care of myself. I'm working out 5 days a week. And it's like, that is only 1 out of 5 pillars of self-care. And you have to balance them to ultimately have true balance in life and vitality and health that feels really deep and real.
So bringing it back to these pillars with meditation.
I do say in the book that if you're a new meditator, instead of starting the way most people start with an app or, a free sort of workshop, that I recommend that you look up a meditation teacher in your area and learn traditional meditation, because it will put you light years ahead in your practice than just fiddling around. I can't tell you for how many years I fiddled around inconsistently with an app. Or I remember out of desperation buying the book Meditation for Dummies. You really want to, place yourself in a community and fast track your practice. So I mentioned TM because it's so worldwide that no matter where you are, if you go on tm.org and put your zip code in, you're going to find some sort of meditation that is close to you, if not someone who's willing to do Skype or FaceTime, teachings. But TM is not the only way to meditate. And I prefer a meditation where there is a mantra, and TM is a type of meditation, like you mentioned. The point of a mantra is almost to put your mind on a treadmill. It's like, here, mind, chew up this mantra for a little while. And the biggest misconception people have about meditation is that it's a period of time without thought. And that caused me to struggle tremendously with my practice because I always felt like I was failing. And the truth is, that's not what meditation is at all. It's to allow the thoughts to flow through you without attaching to them. And over time, you do have longer and longer moments where you go, whoa, I just wasn't thinking at all. But that's not the point. Sometimes I have meditations where I'm thinking the entire time and my mind is very busy and I have to continuously bring it back to the mantra. But it's actually a fantastic meditation. When I'm done, I feel really light. I feel very calm. So it's about letting the thoughts flow through you and not attaching to them. The mantra is extremely helpful because it might look something like this. Oh, I have to pick up my dry cleaning, and oh, I wonder what I'm eating for dinner tonight. Oh, mantra, 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 mantra. Oh, wait, what about that episode? Mantra.
Yeah.
And so it's like constantly bringing you back, and it's a very helpful tool. But I did want to mention today, a few years ago, made this commitment to myself that I was going to meditate every single day for a year. And I knew that the only way that I was going to accomplish this if I was really lenient with what I defined as meditation. You set a minute and you just slow down your breath as slow as you possibly can go for a minute. That's it. And the timer goes off before you even know it, and you notice a complete physiological change in your entire body. Your heart rate slows down, your cortisol levels drop, your stress response completely shifts, and it's enough.
All right, so Carly, if I've never meditated before in my entire life, like where do I begin?
I would start by I would do a few things. One, I would download a guided meditation. I think guided meditation is such an easy way to start because it's really scary to go, okay, wait, I'm just going to sit in silence and set a timer. And what does this look like? And so there are so many guided meditations. I use an app called Insight Timer. And that has a ton of free guided meditations. Also, one of my most favorite guided meditations is that Oprah and Deepak Chopra do a free 21-day guided meditation a couple of times a year, and then you can purchase them. So if you go on either website, whether it's Deepak Chopra or Oprah, or if you just Google their 21-day meditation, it's guided by both of them. Their voices are so calming. Deepak gives you a mantra for each meditation. It's extremely helpful. But at the same time, I do recommend that you look up TM meditation on tm.org, put in your zip code, see if you can find a traditional teacher, meaning that traditional meditation is taught from the teacher to the student.
Yeah.
And so that you actually take a class and you learn from someone in person how to meditate, what it looks like, what to look out for, and you get all those questions that we all inevitably have about what should be going on in the mind and how we should be sitting and all of the things that come up to get those questions answered. I think it's really important to have certainty that you're doing it correctly, and soon you'll see different versions. But I would reach out in the community, also have the app, and start with something guided.
Got it. Okay, perfect. So if somebody is listening to this and going, yeah, okay, that's all well and good, but I got no time for that, or I don't know if I really want to be isolated with my thoughts and alone in this moment of silence, like how do we begin to squash these limiting beliefs in ourselves?
One of the things that you can do is start with breath work, which is a type of meditation, but you're really focusing on your breath. And the 1 minute meditation, the backpack meditation, is that you can just set the timer for 1 minute and make your inhale and exhale as long as you possibly can. The person famous for breath work is a doctor named Dr. Andrew Weil, Weil, and he has been teaching breath work for 20 plus years. He has a CD that is so old school that I still refer to. It's just that every track is a different breathing exercise. And to do that and to have something to focus on, so you're not just sitting there going, wait, is this meditation? What am I doing? Is a great way to start. And you can do it for 1 minute and see all of the physiological changes in the body. If you feel really stressed and you're going from place to place, set a minute on the timer. Before you go into it, notice what's tight in your body. Notice how you're breathing. Notice how you're carrying all of the muscles in your face. Where are your shoulders? do the minute, breathe long and slow, and then notice just 60 seconds later what happens in the body. After that, you'll be hooked. And you go, okay, I'm ready to start to try some more traditional mantra type meditation.
And this really reminds me of a conversation I had with Koya Webb earlier this fall. I mean, she was talking about breath work as well. And you know what happens when we are clenched and we're really scared or we're trying to like overcome a big obstacle? We hold our breath. We clench in, you know, and hello, it's such a simple thing, but I sometimes have to be like knocked over the head and reminded on these. Like we have to remember to breathe.
Yesterday, I came home from work, and I'm sure so many people listening and watching have the same. You know, I am not special. I came home from work. I have a toddler, and it was like right as I walked through the door, mommy, mommy, mommy. Then I had to make dinner, then bath, then all this. I know I have all these emails that I owe clients. I have all of these things sitting, these projects, and I found myself I couldn't breathe. I was shallow breathing, and my heart was racing, and I'm thinking to myself, Carly, you're home with your family. Why does your body feel like you just ran a marathon or you're about to jump off a cliff? Like, you've got to slow down. Finally, I went into the closet and just closed the door, and I took 10 deep, long breaths. I had to retrain. It was like, okay, this is how you're breathing now. And as I took those long, deep breaths, my heart rate started to slow. My shoulders started to unglue from my ears. And it was like, okay, I can finally relax. But a lot of how we breathe, in fact, I would argue that all of how we breathe comes from that mental narrative.
Yeah.
So when you feel yourself all clenched up, just ask yourself a simple question. What am I thinking right now?
Yeah.
Am I coming from a scarcity mindset, all the things you need to do that you haven't done? Or are you coming from an abundant mindset that everything is unfolding perfectly, that everything gets done in the exact time it's supposed to get done, and that this present moment is all we have? Because when you shift the narrative, the emotional state shifts, and ultimately our behaviors shift as a result of how we're feeling. So if you want to eat healthier and exercise more consistently and meditate more consistently, it really starts with your stories and beliefs about what it looks like, the pain it takes, the time pain that we associate to all of these healthy things or all of self-care. And like you said, when people are, thinking, to sit alone with my thoughts, well, that's a story that's attaching pain to doing something that is really good for you. Yeah. And that is a theme, whether it's exercise, cooking, waking up early, drinking so much water and peeing all day long, being in silence, meditation. I mean, look at everything it takes to be healthy.
Yeah.
If you attach a story to it that it's painful, that is the place to start. Even before you buy your first meditation pillow, it's shifting the story so that you think about all the pleasure that comes from meditation and what that will look like. How does that bleed into your life? So ask yourself this: if I were a daily meditator, or if once a week I practiced silence and I unplugged, how would that change how I talk to myself and other people, how I treat myself and other people, how I eat? How would it change my sleep, how I react in stressful situations? Start to paint that picture of long-term happiness so that you can really obliterate the pain story of, that 5 minutes, I need that 10 minutes, and override it with the bigger, more important picture.
And I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier about the 1 minute meditation. If you've never done this before in your life and you don't know actually what the benefits and value of being in silence or taking time to meditate, whether it's a minute, 20 minutes or beyond, maybe it's simply giving yourself the gift of 1 minute, test it and go, actually, this is something that could compound effect, make my life better, and give it a go and test it. You know, Carly, there is something that you taught me a bazillion years ago, and I know it's in the book, and I love it so much that I really want you to bring this up here and how it affects these two pillars in particular, is this concept of resources versus resourcefulness. So break that down for people if they've never heard this before.
Resources consist of time. So time is a resource. Money is a resource. Mm-hmm. And lastly, the help of other people is a resource for us. No matter how rich or famous you are,
Yeah.
you only have these 3 resources. Oprah does not have 4 resources. She probably does. But we all have the same 3 resources. Usually the more money you make, the less time you have, and and vice versa. Or if you live around family, you then have, other people that can help you. But some of us are isolated and they don't have anyone they can call to help us. That's resources. Resourcefulness is a whole different thing. Resourcefulness is how creative you are with the resources you have.
Yeah.
So if time is a resource that you don't have a lot of, then I want you to be really creative with it. So for example, if you don't have a lot of time and we're talking about this meditation and you're thinking, this sounds great, but there's literally no way. Well, you shower every night. Or if you're me, every other night, or maybe every third night, don't tell anybody. and well, while you're in the shower, I could bet that you are thinking about a bunch of stuff that is totally unnecessary and the antithesis of what would be a calming spa-like shower.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's be resourceful with that. You're in the shower for 5 minutes. Why don't the second water hits your body, you breathe slowly and deeply, and you only think about things you're grateful for and things that you want to manifest in your life. And then when you put the shampoo in your hand, smell it as if you've never smelled it before and just take it all in. Yeah. Well, now we're not using any more resource for you, but that shower went from it's something I have to do to cross it off my list so I can get to the other thing. It turned into self-care.
Yeah.
All the time, I catch myself taking off my makeup and washing my face like a 5th grade boy. It's like, I'm just like rubbing my face. And then whenever I go and get facials and the woman reminds me that you're supposed to rub your skin like it's a rose petal, I'm thinking, what am I doing at home? It's like, I might as well be using sandpaper on my face. And so I slow down. I say, Carly, this can be self-care for you. You spend all this money on these bougie products for your face. Why don't you slow down a little bit? And so that is an example of being resourceful with the resources that you have.
And I mean that again, it's sometimes we just need a gentle reminder because we are all goldfish sometimes and we forget, after about 7 seconds, we forget. And what that just sparked in my mind is something that I've just started recently doing is, you've got the school runs. The kids' school is, a walk from the house, which is great. We don't have to get in the car. We can just walk down the street 5 minutes. They're at school. Boom. Well, you know what? Also, the walk back to the house, rather than darting off straight to work and going straight to the office or going straight into your commute, something I've been doing on Tuesday mornings is taking a left instead of a right and taking a walk in nature for even if it's just 30 minutes, and taking that time. That's being resourceful, right?
Yes.
Okay, this is time I'm building in. It doesn't cost any more money. It does cost 30 minutes of my life, but the payoff is always so much more. Because I feel, like you said at the top of the episode, you just feel more grounded. You feel, I don't know, you're not getting caught up into the rat race of life, which is so easy to get stuck in, and saying, you know what, this is for me. I'm doing this for me.
And then just be careful because we tend to do those things and then not be intentional with our inner narrative. Yeah. You need to be intentional. I can't tell you how many times I've caught myself on a walk, whether it's in nature or doing something and that's supposed to be for my self-care, but I'm letting the mind just go. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I'm in stress because of what I'm allowing the voice to say to me. So you could walk the 30 minutes home from dropping off the kids, going over your to-do list the whole time, or being stuck in some story about how someone did not do something. The very definition of stress is your story about how something should happen does not match the way the present moment has unfolded. And so you could be stuck in that story the whole time. You have to be intentional. Self-care is about intention. I can cook a meal that's a beautiful, healthy meal, but if I'm stressed because it's taking time, forget it. I believe from a hippy dippy place that meal's not even going to nourish me the way it would if when I made the meal, I was intending to make it a beautiful practice of I have to make this meal. So why not intend it to be a gratitude practice for this food I have, and that I'm grateful that I'm nourishing my family with this fresh food because I'm doing it anyway. And so I just want everyone to be very intentional about the way you go about your self-care, or else I can't, I've been in a place where I've gotten a mani-pedi or all those things we consider self-care, and I leave and I'm more stressed because I wasn't intentional about my thoughts when I was going in.
Yeah, and I think it bears repeating. I know we've said this in part 1 and part 2. Self-care isn't just a Band-Aid to fix your busy life. Like self-care is something so much deeper. You call it restorative care, right?
Yeah, there's a difference. And I've just recently had to separate the wording. There's a difference between self-care and restorative care.
Yeah.
Self-care are the things that we do to keep ourselves healthy.
Yeah.
So that can include exercise as self-care, or getting a haircut, or again, mani-pedi, facials. But restorative care is when you're doing something that after you feel restored, you feel grounded. And so there are times where my husband says, oh, you got your self-care. We always argue with our partners of like, who gets more self-care? And I go, I'm going here. He goes, well, you got a mani on Monday. I said, a manicure is not self-care. I coach, I speak, my nails have to be on point. It's more of a stress for me. I don't even get the massage. I'm breathing in chemicals when I go there. I go, this is something on my to-do list. So this might be self-care in the way that I'm doing something that takes care of or the appearance of the self, but this is not restorative care.
Right.
What you and I are talking about today is truly restorative care. Self-care can be going for a walk, bringing the girlfriend, but restorative care is going for the walk and leaving your cell phone in the car and being in silence. And it's really important to know the difference, because a lot of people listening might go, oh, I thought I was getting self-care, but this restorative care you speak of, I don't do any of that. I don't feel like my battery is completely, picture yourself as a cell phone. Are you at 100% after you do this, or is it just another thing that you knocked off your list and you still feel crappy?
And depleted.
That's not restorative care. Exactly.
Yeah. So, okay, quick recap. If you are testing out and trying meditation for the very first time, we have got lots of links and resources in the episode show notes for this one. So make sure to go to the simplifierspodcast.com to find all of those there. But meditation can be as simple as 1 minute. It could be a guided meditation where you're listening to somebody else's voice and they're guiding you through the process. Your eyes are closed. You're focusing on the breath, and that's it. Whether it's a minute, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, or even just a hot second, right? Give yourself that grace and permission to just give it a go, right?
Yes.
And then when it comes to getting silence in your life, so that's like you were saying earlier, maybe taking a half day and unplugging from all your devices or social media, or getting out into nature and grounding yourself, not putting the earbuds straight into your ears the second you exit the door, right? Like just being open to what silence is. But then also, I guess it's part of like just listening also to the natural world around you as well. So, my inclination sometimes is to throw the playlist on immediately or throw the podcast on. So the podcaster is telling you, stop listening to podcasts just for a little bit to get a little silence in your life. Is there any other best practices or things that you would mention to either or to help people start this?
Just as a leaving note, to remember that it's about consistency, that there is no such thing as perfectionism. No one is going to give you a gold star, and no one is going to slap you on the wrist. And that means you need to be accountable to yourself and to your vision of the type of life that you want to lead. That when you're 90 years old in a rocking chair, you look back and you say, I didn't let work consume me, or family consume me, or drama consume me, that I was the watcher, that I controlled how I showed up in this world, and that the self-care is an integral piece of that. And so consistency and recovery, how quickly you bounce back, is much more worthy of a gold star than can you work out 5 days a week and then not do it for a month? Or can you meditate because you started some challenge, or the whole 30 eating and then day 31 you've fallen off? That it's really about looking over a long period of time and going, wow, I was so consistent. I redefined that it didn't have to look so black or white. And I feel like a different person because of it.
Yeah, 100%. So if you are on par with what Carly is talking about and you want to learn more about Carly's work and that she does both in Austin, Texas, but she works with clients all over the world with her online courses, I highly recommend checking out her website, carlypollack.com. And hello, ring, ring, ring. Everybody knows the holidays are so literally around the corner now. So if you are looking for support when it comes to your eating, your exercise, your meditation, all things that we've talked about in today's episode and previous ones, I highly, highly recommend that you check out her course called Conquer the Holidays. So I've in fact taken this course twice, and I remember being through it going, oh my gosh, this is so great because I've got Carly in my ear reminding me and gently nudging me back to center every single time with every single bit of the modules for it. So I would recommend that you check out that as well. The course begins on November 21st. It runs for 6 weeks, and she's given our listeners a special discount code for 20% off that course. So all you have to do is use the code Simplifiers. You go to carlypollack.com/online-courses. So again, that link and the promo code are in the show notes for this episode. I highly recommend it. All right, Carly. So a few rapid fire questions for you that I like to ask everybody at the end of the episode. And you know these questions, but I'm hoping you're going to give different answers this time as well. So first question is this. What is one book or blog that you're reading these days that is either inspiring you or maybe even poking holes and challenging your belief system right now?
Every year since it came out, Eckhart Tolle's book, A New Earth, and it's I think the 10-year anniversary. Every year I read the book, and it continues to teach me every single time I pick it up. And so I just started that again. In fact, Oprah has a Super Soul podcast where she had Eckhart on, and they went chapter by chapter. It was fantastic.
Yes.
So if you haven't read the book, I say read a chapter and then listen to that podcast, and then read the next chapter and listen. I mean, you're getting Eckhart's opinion on each chapter. It's so cool. And that is a book that continues to slay me every year, and it's that time of year that I'm picking it back up again.
Brilliant. We'll put a link in the show notes for the book as well as the podcast series, which I agree with you. It is solid gold.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us who's one person in your network that you just feel is up to brilliant things right now. We could shine a spotlight on them, and who knows, maybe one day have them on the podcast.
So I just the other day had an extremely long conversation with a chiropractor and functional medicine practitioner here in Austin, and he goes by the name Dr. Daniel, and he calls himself Dr. Daniel, and he is so smart and so loving and kind. And you know, when you speak to someone, you can just tell that they are connected.
Yeah.
And that they are, you know, that they're the real deal. And we were talking so much about how so many of us, more women than men, but really everyone who's very busy and burnt out, is starting to suffer from autoimmune issues, thyroid issues, hormone imbalance, PCOS, infertility issues, and why this manifests in the body like it does. And he is just such a smarty pants, and it would be so cool if you did connect with him and get some of his advice for how to keep the body in balance.
Amazing. Yeah, we'll definitely put a link in the show notes for him and reach out to him very, very soon. So, of course, gratitude and simplicity in my mind go hand in hand. Tell me, what's one thing you're grateful for this week?
This week I'm grateful for sleep, because I'm catching up on it, and it's so interesting to see what a good night's sleep will do to make a picture look different the next day, even if it hasn't changed. but your mentality changes. And I love the idea that with a good night's sleep, you can wake up and decide who you want to be, how you want to act. It's really such an amazing reset. And I'm getting more of it this week than I have in a long time. So I'm definitely grateful for it.
You know what? It's so true when you say that. When you get a good night's sleep, it's all of a sudden different parts of your brain are like working in function, and they go, "Hey, Mary, try that. Hey, what about this?" And you go, "Oh, well, yeah, of course."
Oh, hello, intuitive guide that I've lost.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for coming back.
Thank you. So again, you can find Carly online at carlypollack.com or nutritionalwisdom.com. I know you hang out on Instagram a lot. Where can we find you there?
Instagram at Carly Pollack. You can just CarlyPollack.
Perfect. We'll put those links in the show notes for people. Okay, so last question for now until we hit step 4 and step 5 in a bit. Somebody somewhere is listening to this episode and she has been thinking about meditation. She has considered it. She keeps hearing about it. People are talking about it around her. And she's like, okay, finally, I'm going to try it. I'm going to give it a go. But I have to be honest, Carly, it kind of scares the bejesus out of me. What's one thing you could whisper into her ear right now just to encourage her in this moment?
Just take that next step. Just take that next step and do it before you're ready, which the famous Marie Forleo always says, if you feel completely ready to do something, I personally feel like you've waited too long. Yeah. So if you're in the mindset of what you just described, then you're totally ready because you're not quite ready. So I'd say just take the next step, baby steps that we overestimate what we can do in a year, but we underestimate what we can do in a decade. And that really is because we just take baby steps forward. And then we look back and go, wow, I listened to this podcast and it's 5 years from now and meditation is the cornerstone of my life. Yeah. And I started with this backpack meditation, or I started with this free app for meditation. So just try it and just take that next very small step.
And you can do it. Yeah. Carly, thank you so much. Big love to you.
Oh. Big love to you back.
See you in part 4.